Are we live? I see the thumbs up. Thank you, Gilbert. Hey, everyone. How you doing? I'm Sonny, and I'm with my wife, Sophia, here. And we have a good friend of ours here, Pete Rodriguez, and his wife, Belin. Say hi, guys.
How are you?
All right, so you may want to get that mic closer to you.
How are you?
Is that better? The mic? Okay. Now, with the mic being lower, you can still hear him a little bit? Or does it have to be real close? You can hear him? Okay, I just want to make sure that you're okay. So the purpose of the podcast, when we set up the podcast originally, was to help the families with their inmates that are coming home. That was one of them. Also, the inmates that are out that are struggling right now, coming out of prison, you can't find a job, it's just difficult. This podcast is so that you can reach out to us, so you can be part of our team. You can be part of our Bible study, and when you come out of prison, you want to be connected. You want to make sure that you're connected when you come out, so that way you can stay strong and you won't go back. We've seen it many times, right?
That's correct.
The support, because when you come out of prison, you want to be connected. If not, if you're not connected, you're going to go back to your old ways, right?
That's correct. And thank God that my wife stuck through the whole thing. But yeah, but that there's gentlemen that don't have that
support.
That support.
Yeah, right.
So,
yeah.
I totally agree with Pastor Sonny. Is like they need that support. We don't have the support we did. But I just give.
And I think one of the things that we want to highlight on the podcast is that when your loved ones are coming home, how to handle them. We're not the same when we come home.
Yeah, that's right.
There's just so many issues, so many parts moving in our head, in our mind, because we've been gone for such a long time. Even 2 years, 3 years. It's how can I say it? It's like you were one person, and you go to prison, and they just humiliate you, right? Strip you down, and I always talk about being shackled from the ankles to your wrists, and then, you know what I mean? Where are you going to go?
Right.
You're incarcerated. Where are you going to go? Why do they, And I think that's one thing that plays big in your head, that you're actually, you're in prison or you're incarcerated or waiting for your time, and the way they shackle you. So they have a way mentally of trying to break you, so not everybody has that mindset to be able to be strong and say, hey, this is going to be something that's going to pass. I'm going to get through this. And I'm going to go home. I have my family waiting. I got support. A lot of guys don't have support. So
how important was that, knowing that you had your family to come home to? How?
What Pastor Sonny was talking about, I can't even imagine what the inmates that were coming out that didn't have the support. That's big. It's big. It was important for me because. I don't want to say important, but it had a big impact in my life because
you're mentally be able to hang on too, because they're waiting for you, right?
Right, and I thank God because
take your time, Pete.
Before I went into prison, we were separated for 3.5 years. And she stuck by my side, and I just give God, all the honor and glory. And it was God. I got to a point in my life. It's like that. I was like, era bien cabezón. I was like real thick-headed, and it was real pride. I grew up with a prideful family. It was a real pride. I grew up being prideful, being anger,
machismo, right? That's old school right there, machismo.
And so it's like when it was a trip, because when I met my wife, she was loving, bro. She was real loving, and she's from Carrillo Springs, and I would see her hug this dude, and I was like, is everybody your cousin or what? I wasn't used to that, But she showed me, she put God in my life. She showed me how to love.
Kindness.
Yeah, because I wasn't used to that. I wasn't used to. I was used to, like we had talked about earlier, my uncles were like, hey, I said, this kid, I would try to hug him. Hey, when I was about 13, hey, you don't do that no more. You're 13 years old.
You're 13 years old.
I said, so.
That's old school right there.
Yeah, that's old school, yeah, but,
So when you went to prison, right? So you go to, were you taken from your family right away, or were did you know you were going to prison?
Oh yeah, I was. Let me backtrack a
Yeah,
little
yeah,
bit.
okay,
Let me
tell us
backtrack.
the
So,
process that got you, in prison. What was the process? What happened to get you in prison?
well, going back to where I was saying,
Because
like
you don't seem like a bad guy.
I was angry all the time.
All right.
Like
All
I was
right.
like I was like I was like I was had this anger all the time, and it's crazy. Like a few years ago, I met my godparents, and they were like, "Oh, it's this nojadito piri."
No,
I
how you
was like,
go?
"What?" I looked at my mom. I was like, "What's he
So you're
talking
always in a
about?"
bad mood.
Yeah, bro. So that grew up from. But anyways, it was what I seen in our lives. Is my dad was
The
abused,
violence.
the
You
violence
grew
and
up in
all that.
violence. Yeah.
So
Yep.
I had a lot of anger, and at the age of 15, it was total accident. I don't want to say. I don't know if it was an accident, but after school brawl, we got into this fight and picked up a case for involuntary manslaughter. And then
From being a kid, you got into a fight, and in that fight, just there was
the
an
kid,
accident
yeah,
that
it was,
happened.
yeah, the kid, it just a fight, and the kid had a brain aneurysm, and he ended up dying and stuff. So I was looking at 25 years to life
You know,
at the
Pete.
age of 15.
Backing up a little bit, we have a son that Enzo, and they do these little videos. Have you seen that? These videos that the kids are doing? They'll fight for it's like 20 seconds, 15 seconds. But I tell my son, hey man,
So dangerous.
they're so dangerous. You get hit,
Dangerous.
you hit the sink, you're gonna get in trouble. We see it in the videos. And so what happened to you was an accident
Yeah,
then.
it was a total
How
accident. It
important
was
is
like,
that to share
well,
with other
Were
no,
y'all
we got
clowning
no,
around, or
no,
it was
no,
a
no, it was a real fight.
it was a real fight that just got out of hand?
En ese tiempo, but everybody wore steel toe boots,
Yeah, yeah.
So era una patada, to the head and stuff. But uh, yeah, so I was looking at 25 years to life, trying to try me as an adult through prayers. God intervened. God had always intervened in my life, but I was just one of the people one of them guys that I bien cabezón. And so that happened. They gave me 1 year TDY, and they said, hey, they can try you as an adult when you get after your year. So I decided I'm joining the military. So I joined the military.
Yeah, because they give you that
Yeah,
ultimate. Hey,
join the
either,
military.
yeah.
So I was
That's
like,
old school right there.
oh yes,
Back then, is hey, you're
in
either
ese
gonna go
tiempo,
do 5 years, 10 years, or go to the military.
yeah, yeah. So that's what I did, and so I joined the military and met my wife, after I got out. But I still had a lot of anger, bro, and I had to lay it on the line and give everything to him because I was mentally and physically abusive with my wife because of the anger, and I put my kids through a lot, and
Pete, did you see your father being a?
yeah,
That's what it is.
yeah.
See, whenever you have,
there was a root to the problem.
yeah, because whenever we see our parents being aggressive towards our mother, it's something that we think that it's cool.
Right? Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? That you can talk to you can talk because you see your dad just, trashing her out. You grow up with that same thing, So that's why I was saying if it's something that it was just in you or you picked it up by.
Yeah, it's just I guess it's the anger that I built up
Right.
as a kid.
Mhm.
So at the age of 30, same thing. That's when we were separated. I was drinking a lot. I was doing a lot of cocaine. I drove. I picked up like 5 cases, and they were all felonies. So then again, I was looking at 14 years to 25 years.
So let's back up a little bit. So you go to prison, you go to military, you come out. That's when y'all met.
Yeah.
Okay. So after you meet, now before you get in trouble, before you go to prison, or before you get in trouble with all these cases, did y'all have any kids?
3 girls.
3 girls?
Yeah, we had 3 girls. Yeah, they were little, tan chiquitas. Yeah.
Okay. So okay. All right.
Yeah, we had kids, and So then,
So it was always that relationship was rocky, kind of.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
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 It was, and we talked about like, man, if it wasn't, if I, and it was me, bro. If I said, man, if I could have just let God give me direction and take control of my life,
But
because
did you?
I wanted a big family,
But
bro.
did you? But did you? I mean, did you know God at that
Oh,
time?
bro, I had that seed planted in me, bro, since I was a kid.
So okay,
I
so
was
it
just
just
one. Era
did.
bien cabezón. I
Okay,
was one of
okay.
those
So you
guys.
already knew about God when you were a
Yeah.
kid.
And then I
Okay.
think it was you, Pastor, and Pastor Alba. We had talked about it was Pentecostal is like if you do this, then
Brimstone.
you're going to
Brimstone.
hell.
That's
And it's so
old
oh, it
religion.
was an old religion, and it
Mhm.
kind of scared me.
So detrimental.
Yeah,
It is.
exactly. It scared me, so I'm like, do I really want
Theology.
that? In my life,
We grew up the same way. My father was a pastor, but it was always like, and you know what? Uh, I think um, that's what they were taught. You know what I mean? I think that's because they were taught. They taught us that, hey, pórtate bien, se te va a arrancar Dios. God's going to tear you up. God's going to do this.
Yeah.
God's going to punish you.
Yeah.
You're not going to succeed. You're not going to be nothing in life. You won't do nothing. You won't go no place if you don't live right and if you're out of God's will. It's always God's will. I mean, it was always like you were scared.
Yeah, I agree.
You do
I
something, you're like,
totally agree, yeah.
oh man, I messed up. Now I got to start all over. But I think it was something that they were taught, and they taught it to us.
Yeah, yeah.
And so it was brimstone. You know what I mean?
Right, yeah. So like we talked about
So
earlier.
you got in trouble now.
I got in trouble.
So you're looking at
14 years.
14 years, okay.
14 years. Again, we talked about like I'm like, okay, it's time for me to change. I'm in the county jail, doing Bible studies and I'm like, you know what? It's sad.
So you met Jesus in jail.
I met Jesus. when
All
I was
right.
little,
Re-
man.
they were
I met him
reintroduced.
again, bro.
Yeah. So you were reintroduced. I always say that, when you go to jail, the Bible, there's Bibles all over the place, So you're going to meet Jesus again.
Again, right.
Yeah.
So, but I was like, when does it stop? It's like, and I knew that he'd always, we had 15 years old. Man, I wouldn't be here today.
Right.
I was looking at life in prison, going into a prison system as an adult at the age of 15. So I knew God was there. I was just like, era en cabezón. But this last time when I was there, it was like, yes, this is
This is
it.
This is it.
And when I came out, guess what?
It wasn't
It
it?
wasn't it.
You left Jesus behind?
I left
You
Jesus
left the
behind.
Bible and Jesus behind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
But let me tell you, did you leave him behind because you're coming out? You didn't have a support? You didn't have somebody to come to or a group to come to?
no, I had my wife, right?
Okay.
But I believe what I needed is to be somebody to be accountable for me, somebody, a mentor.
There you go. Okay.
It's just like what you're trying to do.
Right.
If I had that in my life, like what you're doing,
That's the purpose of this,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
we're trying to get them as they come out, or even if they're out of prison, where we can work with them.
right?
That's
right.
what we're trying to do,
Ex-
is
yeah.
work with them so that way they have a support group.
Yeah.
It's hard when you come out. There's no support group. Everything that you were taught, look, when you're in jail or in prison, you have this undivided attention. Undivided attention where the Bible's there. I remember my dad used to come visit me before I got sentenced, and he would tell me, take advantage of the time you got. Take advantage of this time. Right now is the time. Get into the Word. Pray. You got time. Take advantage. Take advantage. And when you're in prison, you got that time.
You got plenty of time.
You
Yeah,
got that
yeah.
time. But coming out is that support group that is. This is why I tell my wife, look, work with these ladies that have their men in prison. This way, you're encouraging the women. They start coming to church, and when their husbands come out, they have the support group already. The wife's already in church, right, serving God, and when they come out, now they bring their husbands to church. Because a lot of them, when they're coming out, they're in the Word, and they're some of them are preaching in there. The problem is when you come out, no one wants to give you a chance.
Right.
No one
I
wants to
agree,
give them a room to give Bible study, a place to preach. Nobody, you're an ex-con. You're looking down on them. They're ex-cons, and You got to work your way from the bottom up. But having the support group that we're doing,
Oh,
this is
yeah,
what
yeah.
that helps them.
I think that would have made the big difference in my life if I had that support group. And also, it's we focus so much on the inmates coming out.
Mm-hmm.
What about them? Man, it's like you said, it's like they were in prison too. They went through a lot, and I see that. And when y'all talked about doing that ministry and to help the women too, that's awesome, man. Because they need it. They need. I'm not going to say they need it more than inmates, but they need it just as much.
So when you come out of prison, right?
Yes, sir.
You went, how many years did you get for that?
3 years.
3 years.
Yeah.
That's still
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Because I mean, the thing is about being in prison, everything falls apart.
Yeah.
If you're not careful, the wife runs the wife becomes the mom, the dad. She becomes the breadwinner, and you're in prison, and you're in a standstill right now. You're here, and life. It's almost like when I used to tell my daughter used to come see me, and she would cry, right, Mija, I'm not dead, Mija. I'm coming home.
Yeah.
I'm coming home. Whatever time they give me, I'm coming home. I wanted her to understand that I was going to come home, right? So life for us stands still, right, while we're in prison. All this happens out here. Our kids go through these birthdays, they go through these Christmas, and they go through life, and they get this character. They become these persons, these little people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when we come out, it's like they're grown up already. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They grow up. So, like I said, the wives have a lot to do with it because they're the ones that raise our kids. It's bad enough that when we're out here, they're still raising them because we're working
Yeah,
and doing other
yeah,
things,
yeah.
and then the wife still. But imagine, I know what it's like because my wife went through it. So you come out, right?
Yes, sir.
So what happens after you come out?
I come out, and right away the devil starts attacking my mind and
So
saying,
how long did it
"Okay,
take? So you're serving the Lord, right? You're
Uh-huh.
reading the Bible. You're in there. So you come out of prison. How long did it take for you to go back?
How long, baby?
No,
No, to quit like serving God."
To
Yeah,
relax.
to relapse. There you go. To relapse.
After he got out, he went back to his old stuff again.
Okay.
Maybe like 3-4 years, maybe, And
do you think a support group would have helped?
absolutely,
It would have helped him.
absolutely.
Now, okay. So now that you have the mic, okay. So he comes out, right? Were you in the Word? I mean, were you going to church? Were you in the Word? Were you? Oh, let me just say this: were you part of a group?
I was not part of a group,
You weren't. Okay.
but I'll tell you one thing: I was always praying,
Okay.
always.
So, what was it like? I'm going to take you back. Okay. So, I know it was a rough relationship. I know that. Okay. So, it's a rough relationship. Now,
They were separated. You were separated.
y'all were
at the
separated
time,
when he
correct?
got time.
Yes,
When he was
yes. Yeah, right before they took him in, we had just gotten separated.
So
And
how's the
so-
process while he's in? You have communication? You
Yes,
take-
I stayed in communication
Okay.
through the whole thing, even like as far as like sending him money, and
So you love this man here,
oh yeah, I mean to see him, even though I was very mad at him,
right?
the love was still there. To see your husband, in prison was very difficult because
It's okay.
my family, my brothers and families, they don't know this thing about prison. I wasn't brought up that way, We lived like a different lifestyle, I guess, my family and his family. And I remember waking up in the morning and I'd be like, oh my God, my husband's in prison. It was, the word prison was yeah, it's not just shocking, but it was like, to me, it felt like a word of like something I never thought I would ever use in my language, right?
Were you embarrassed to say?
Yes,
You were?
I
You get
was.
embarrassed.
She don't even like me using the word prison. Like when I get pictures of her,
Yeah.
"Can you
No.
use some other prison?"
No.
But,
And not,
but it's part of our life. It's part of our life. That's what we use to
Absolutely.
reach other people, right? But
absolutely.
I mean, but it's like it's almost like embarrassing. When I first came out, I was embarrassed when they asked, "So you've been gone?" Yeah, I've been gone. I didn't want to say where I was gone. I was in, I went to college.
It's funny, but I used to feel that way. Not anymore. You know,
What did you go through? Him being in prison, knowing that he was going to be gone.
the girls and I went through difficult times.
How
You
old
know,
were they when he left?
When he left, Juliana might have been like 10, maybe. Nicole was maybe 7. She was 2 years younger. And Erica was older. She was older. So
Man, they're babies.
they were babies. Yeah. I remember our electricity being shut off, and something we had never been through before, And
So what do you tell your babies about daddy being gone?
at the beginning, I wouldn't say anything. I did not know how to even bring it up.
So they had no understanding. They never went to court. They never.
No,
It was
I
just-
kept them out of that.
You sheltered them with that.
Yeah, I kept them completely out of that. I wanted them to concentrate on school, and I mean, they already knew dad wasn't around, for some reason.
But what did you tell them that dad wasn't around? I mean,
Well,
that had to have
Well,
been
they were
hard.
already separated, so they had already gotten used to
Exactly.
him.
Oh, so
not
that
being
helped
there.
you. In their mind is
Yeah.
that Wow.
So
Wow.
with him being in and out of their lives,
right.
it was like, normal
Normal.
to them,
But they
Yeah.
wouldn't ask him, "Hey, when daddy's going to come
Yeah,
by
no,
and pick
ev-
us up? When are we going to go
eventually-
spend time with dad?
Yeah.
When are we going to see him?"
Yeah, eventually I did tell them eventually, yeah.
What I mean, but what do you tell
Well,
babies
it's-
that look, your dad, he made a mistake. He's paying for his mistake. How
That's
do you
what-
break it down to them to process? Because you're just gonna. Oh, he's in prison. You want to.
I
You
never
kinda
even wanted
sugar-
to say prison. That would say something more gentle, like he's in jail, even at that,
But you want to sugarcoat it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
You want to.
yeah.
You want to lay
yeah.
down really soft
Yes,
to break it to
because-
them. Where okay.
Yeah. I don't really recall how I told them, but eventually they started writing letters to each other. They would write letters to their
awesome.
dad.
Pictures?
Pictures.
How did that make
Um,
you feel?
I couldn't see the pictures at first.
You couldn't see the pictures?
It would kill me.
You'd cry, right? You'd just break it down when you see
I
it.
couldn't. I was like, I was sometimes, like, when I knew it was a picture, it took me a week to open it.
Okay, in the mic. He needs a mic. Okay, go ahead.
So yeah, when
They would send you the pictures, they send you letters and pictures.
yes. So sometimes it'd take me a week to open them up because I just couldn't. I'd break down, So it was hard.
And then how do you see pictures in front of other inmates and crying? You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
it's like it's real emotional,
Yeah.
And then you have 3 girls, and your 3 girls being raised without their daddy. And I can imagine. I have a daughter, so she's daddy's girl.
Right.
So I can imagine they were daddies, right?
Oh, yes.
Right, right.
Oh, yes. The thing about Pete is like,
He's a good daddy? He's a good daddy. Yeah,
we had our ups and downs,
right.
but as far as the dad, oh God, he's such a good dad. And I look back now and I said, why did I always take him back? I always
Because he
took
was
him
a
back
good dad.
because he was a good dad.
He was a good dad. Yeah.
He was such a good dad, and even now he's the best.
Yeah.
Even he's such a good
Grandpa.
grandfather. Yeah.
It's crazy that even though sometimes they make these mistakes, men make these mistakes, go to prison, but there's goodness in them.
Hmm.
There's goodness in them, and it's once they start serving the Lord, you can see what was really deep inside.
Absolutely.
God does this work,
Oh
right, Pete?
yes.
And He does this work, and then you just become the other person that other people don't recognize.
Mhm.
So he's in prison. You break the news to the girls. Now, were you taking them to go see Dad?
I never took him over there.
No?
No.
How about to
I
go
would
visit
go.
at the county or before he got sentenced?
At the county? No.
No?
Did I take you?
Oh,
Yeah,
no, at TDC? No?
yeah. Yeah, I never took him to prison
So,
to go visit him.
all right, so now, okay, he's in prison now, right? So he's in prison now, right? He's in prison now. So what do you become mom and you become dad. So tell me about being mom and dad at the same time.
Being mom and dad at the same time is very tough. It's a 24/7 nonstop, you know? And,
Do you ever break down?
oh, yes.
What would break you down?
When I would see the kids, it was tough for them not having their dad. Because he's such a good dad, you know, and they would always ask for him though, all the time. But tough times we went through. Our car got impounded. They repoed our vehicle, and then our electricity got shut off. And you know, I wasn't one to like go and ask mom and dad, you know, because dad and mom were going through their own things, you know. But they were always there for us, though, financially, with anything. My parents were always there for us. I just didn't want to ask, you know.
And did you ever tell Pete when you're going through these things? Did you ever tell him, hey, the car got repossessed? Or
Yeah, he knew those. He knew everything. Sometimes he would ask me for money, and I'm like, no, I got to keep the electricity on for the
I need
kids.
some commissary.
No, but yes, we had.
My turn for a spread, huh? Put money on the books, babe. I'm making a spread for 20 guys here.
Oh yes. I eventually bought a little car, you know, a small little Toyota, and I called it the Peanut. We had no AC in it or anything, but it
But
was
it got
a car.
you around.
It got me from point A to B and C. And I remember driving around in the vehicle. We had no AC, you know.
The girls all
And-
sweating.
They were all sweating. It's so funny, yeah. And I had Juliana in the front seat, and Nicole was the youngest one. She was in the back, and she had a piece of paper or something, and she was fanning her from sweating so much, you know. And it was in the summer, so it was like super hot, and we weren't used to, being without an AC, you know.
Right.
And here we are. And I actually wanted to make some money, some quick money, so I decided to sell tacos.
Really?
Yeah, I
Really?
decided to sell some tacos, and I had heard a friend of mine was doing that, and she would make really quick cash.
Yeah.
So I started making breakfast tacos and hitting all the construction sites. And I was home by noon, maybe 12:30 was when I would get home. And I had all my money, you know. And I did pretty good. Yeah, I almost wanted to start another business with it. But eventually,
Entrepreneur.
no, the Lord was just leading us, and he
So
just had his hand
did you call
upon
Pete and
us.
say, hey, I don't need you anymore. I'm a taco lady. Yeah, don't you know? You know
Yeah.
what's amazing is that, and I saw it in my wife, how you can have a woman can have a bad situation, right? Her husband being in jail or in prison, and women have this grace to make it. It's the
Survive.
craziest thing. It's to survive, to get through, to provide, and I always say I like to think that it's something that God put in the DNA of a woman is to care, to carry, to support, to be there, and when I talk to women that had their husbands like yourself in prison, I mean, would you have seen yourself selling tacos?
Never. Never.
But it paid the bills.
It paid the bills and more.
Where do you think you got that idea from?
I think I got it from my mother. My mother was, her and my dad worked in the fields, and I remember her, I remember helping her make hamburger patties when I was a little girl. And she would go out into the fields,
Wow.
and she was picking cotton, but also during her lunch, she would sell
So tacos.
tacos, and that's how she made her money to actually build her first home. And,
Now, was it? Let me ask you this. So, he's in prison now. You're the breadwinner now. Any way you can, right? So, was it like embarrassing to go sell tacos, or it's something that, hey, I'm a mom, I got my
that's
daughters,
how I
right?
felt.
I'm a mom.
The embarrassment was not there. I think it's a whole mode of trying to survive and just
Yes.
going out and making
I,
some money.
I always believe that the person you perform at your highest level, men or women, when you're being squeezed, when things are taken from you,
So
and,
too.
and you find yourself that
No
You're-
other choice.
no other choice, no other choice, and you're
Mhm.
there,
No
and
other
you just say, hey, you know what? Everything's out the window.
Mhm.
Now I got to survive. I got to do this, and that's when greatness always comes, when you're
Yeah.
at your peak. So
At the lowest.
That's-
yeah. Absolutely. I completely agree with that.
mhm.
Yep.
Okay, so
when you say all that, it kind of takes me back to where I was at, and yeah, absolutely.
How-
When you
how
see
would
your
you-
kids and you know
Mhm.
that the only way they're going to get fed is
Mhm.
if you take care of it.
that's amazing how. Okay, so now you're the mom, you're the dad. Now you're providing. So now Pete comes out. Yeah, we're separated before. Pete comes out. What happens when Pete comes out now?
He called. He left me. He wrote to me and told me he was going to be coming out, and he came home.
Did you put a yellow ribbon?
I like his face. He's like, well, hold on.
he came home. Well,
Hold on. Let me tell you how it really happened.
Let me tell you what really happened.
The true
So check
story.
it- So, bro, so I had-
Oh, that's right. She's like, oh, wait. No, I know.
You know what he's gonna say, right?
She's like, I
So
locked him
check
out.
this So
You,
I'm at TDC, right? I'm at the walls,
Okay.
right? I could see them, they give you those funky clothes, right? And I could see
you get a
them.
check? Did they give you a
I
check?
think it was like $75, something like that. I forget what it was.
That's way better than your $12.
It was better.
Oh,
I got
yeah,
$12.
fans,
Yeah, I
yeah,
got
fans,
$12
right.
$12 they gave me.
So I could see them. I was like, yeah, I'm fixing to get out, right? It's like, oh, yeah. Well, those cases that I had, right, they were supposed to run them concurrent, and they didn't, bro.
Oh, geez.
They didn't run concurrent. So I'm looking, and I was like, probably about 500 guys got released that day.
Were your kids there?
Yeah, I could see
Oh.
them, and I was like, all right, and bro, and I'm Rodriguez, right? So I'm like, I'm probably because I'm Rodriguez, I'm probably
You're waiting.
bars.
Yeah,
on the
wait,
way.
man.
Man, it was about 30 people left. Rodriguez, out of the 500, bro, I was the only one that had to detain her. You didn't go nowhere.
Oh, man.
So I had me mandaron para Dominguez because I had a state, and I had a TDC and a state that they didn't run concurrent, and they finally fixed it. But
How much
no,
time?
I
in?
didn't. It didn't. I didn't. It was what? How much? I don't know.
Okay, so
So I had a. They were supposed to run it concurrent, and they didn't. So that once they fixed it,
you
I was
were
there
you were
maybe
gone.
like 3-4 months. But bro,
But how heartbreaking is that y'all go pick him up
Yes.
and you're not able to bring him home? Did you say, this is a sign I need to get rid of this guy? God's speaking to me. He's not coming home. Yeah, this is a
Just
sign.
leave her.
This is the red flags here.
Eagle, bro.
Okay, so he comes home. He goes through the whole process, right? You go pick him up.
3 months later.
3 months later, you pick him up. Y'all are together now. Did anything change? Did he learn something from the first time?
Was it different?
Was he different?
She
Were
said
you? Were you?
She said I was slow, bro.
Yeah, you're doing push-ups.
I was like, yeah, he's going to be like,
You're like, you look
Give her
like
the
10
mic.
years younger.
Like 20 years younger.
Well, yeah, prison.
He was all wet and all buff, and I was like,
Yeah. It just
You look bad.
prison preserves you.
Yeah.
And you got all day. You got time to do push-ups and
I would
burpees
tell him,
and
That's
sit-ups
how do
and
you look
everything.
younger? I feel like I aged like 10 years while you're all the stress.
I don't know, but I came out very healthy.
Yeah,
Very
bro.
healthy. Very healthy.
Horrible.
So he comes out, and so is his personality different?
is this personality different? he was very like timid, you know,
Oh, yeah.
timid and kind of like
Didn't like
with
going any
his
place?
walls up a little bit, you know.
Mhm.
It
Quiet?
took a while. Yeah, he was
Quiet?
quiet also.
Didn't like traffic, didn't like people, didn't like noise.
He
Didn't
was
like anybody.
Yeah.
I think he enjoyed being at home,
Oh,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah.
but he was very timid and quiet and kind of like maybe walking like on eggshells, like, you know,
Checking his
just
bag.
just yeah.
So straight
But
home,
but
no
it
halfway house.
it took time. It
Took
took
a
some
while.
time, but
What do you? How much time do you think he actually? It took him to kind of adjust.
um
Yeah.
no, it didn't take him. It didn't. I because he wasn't in there very long. I can't even imagine those that have been there longer. But even at that, even though he'd never been locked up before ever, so it was something new for him. So to go into that, being locked up and confined to certain things, and then to come out to freedom,
Yes.
I know it took
Do-
him a
Do
while.
you?
It did
do
take
you
him a little
think
while.
something was stolen from you?
Like when I was locked up.
Yeah. Okay, so you go to prison. You're this person before you go to prison, right? Now you go to prison. Do you feel something was taken from you? Some type of innocence? Some type of your identity? Do you feel like something was just?
You know, like you're talking about, it wasn't just getting shackled up. You know what else, bro?
Mhm.
And there was a lot of things that was humiliating.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about, bro. So, that had a
Because the
big
system
impact.
has a way of wanting to break us.
Oh yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah, there was a lot.
Before you get into, I mean, and the system, it starts like in the county, they're already breaking you down. What time to get up, what time to go to bed, count time, cuenta, and they're breaking you down. When to shower, when to go outside. So that now, in the county, they're preparing you for prison. You slowly, you're getting and you're everything that you knew from the outside is no longer. Now you don't belong to yourself. You don't own yourself. Now you belong to the county or the feds or the state, wherever you're going.
So I remember because you just said it, and I would hear people say that all the time. Well, he's only going to do what 10 years. He'll be fine. There's people that are 20 years. There's people that are 15 years, and he actually only ended up doing 5 years. But I remember research. I'm a huge researcher, so I was looking up just statistics of when they go in, do they go back? What are the statistics? How does it work? And there was one article that I read, and it said that inmates are institutionalized within 24 months. Within 2 years, you're broken down, your identity stripped, and you're just used to the routine of this is what you have to do because I'm the boss and I tell you that this is what you do. And so it was 24 months, and it was so interesting because they were saying how coming out, that was a big struggle of just having to manage your own time. And for us, we don't think about that, right? Because we're out here, we're just doing what we're doing. And that was one of the biggest things that they said that inmates coming out had a difficulty with was managing their time. I could go where I want to go. I can do what I want to do, and not having somebody there to tell you how to do it. It was a struggle.
The difficult part is when you do get, I don't know about you people, but you got all these rules, right? When you get up, when you go to bed, when you can go brush your teeth, when to go to lunch, to the day room. Being that we're under quarantine, we couldn't go anywhere. We were confined, right? It's like being in the shoe, right? But you got all these rules. So when you come out, somebody wants to put you back in that box to manipulate you, control you, tell you what to do. It just doesn't work for you, because you've already been confined. You've already been told, they boss you, and then you come out, and then someone wants to pull that on you. I don't know. Did you have that
Oh,
experience?
yeah, bro. I struggled with with work.
Okay.
Them telling me what to do. And I remember the devil's already attacked me. I said, okay, you're a convict. You're not gonna have your jobs, or you're not gonna have a
You're
good
gonna be
job.
digging a hole.
Yeah, for the rest of your
Yeah,
life.
you're gonna be
So,
digging. Yeah.
and I remember it's crazy. I went to work for this labor company, and I was making $8 an hour, bro. And it was right after my wife. I had that seat handed to me. She started going to church, right? And that it was New Year's, and I had a ice chest full of beer. I'm going downtown.
So you're in church already.
Yeah, she was in church
You were in
before
the
me.
Word
Yeah,
already.
yeah.
You're in the Word already. So how long were you in the Word before Pete?
It might have been maybe like a year, maybe.
Okay.
And I remember that night that he was getting ready to go out, and I was getting ready to go to a Bible class, church. It was church on a weekday.
Eve.
Oh yeah, and they were gonna have something going on, and I invited him, and he said yes, and
God did something.
he did. He did. He did.
Did you get touched?
Yes, he did. And I was so grateful when he said yes. Because I thought for sure he was going to grab that chest of beer and leave. And he didn't.
Say something, Pete. So, what happened, Pete?
So I ended up going to church that evening, and I recommitted my life to Christ again.
Yes, he did.
Because you knew about
And I
Christ,
never turned back.
but it was in you. You know what I mean? The Holy
Yeah,
Spirit
I
was
never
in you.
turned
And,
back. Yeah, and it's crazy, bro, because not crazy, but I give God.
put your mic a little closer.
I give God all the honor and glory because he's took us through a lot, and I feel like he was preparing me for something. Uh, but I remember working. I was like, okay, God, I'm making $8 an hour. I used to be a foreman. I saw did all that. This pride kept coming in, and he was like, just chill.
I'm
Just
made for
hang,
greatness.
yeah, just hang in there. And there was this one dude that was always screaming, bro. And I remember that day. I said, man, if this dude screams at me, I was on parole still. I said, if this dude screams at me,
I'm going back to jail.
I'm gone.
Yeah,
No,
you're
I didn't
going-
want to.
Oh.
I didn't want to like get
Okay.
into it with him or anything. So, but he said, hey, come here, man. I said, yeah, what's going on? And he says, hey, I want you to run a crew of.
The one that
12
yells?
guys. Huh?
The one that yelled at you?
Yeah.
Okay.
So he said, so from
That's
there,
God.
Oh,
just
that was God right
yeah,
there.
hey, bro. From there on out, God started just elevating me, man. And I've got to a point to where I was like, God, no more. Thank you. I thank you. I thank you for everything. I don't need anymore. I've got to.
I don't ever want to say that.
Yeah.
Give me more.
Give it. Yeah.
Give me
So I
Open-
landed
open more doors. Yeah.
I landed a job where it's they do an intense background.
Right.
And I remember when I first applied for it, and I was like, yeah, whatever. If it happens, it happens. And he opened up that door, and
Your experience.
yeah,
Your
so
experience got you in there. God, first of all, God opened that door, that opportunity.
yeah,
You were being faithful and being in the Word, and
yeah. So, and then and I'm able. What's cool about it, bro? It says I'm able to minister to guys at work.
Right.
A couple of weeks ago, we had a meeting, and they said, hey, what are you doing different at work? I told you. He said, what are you doing different from everybody else? I said, I pray.
That's right. Wow. Okay.
First thing I do is I get out my truck and I pray for the whole site. I pray for all the guys, and I just ask for direction and just for peace because, I get to a point where I'm like, running. No, and I'm not boasting. I sometimes get 200, 250 guys, and it's hard when everybody's like cussing and
Right.
sometimes I catch them drinking in the buildings. Sometimes smoking out in the buildings, but it's tough. But I feel like God put me there for a reason.
He's making a leader.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
he's giving you that leader role where you can breathe life into them, encourage them. Yeah, yeah. I can see
yeah,
that.
and I've never, and again, not to boast, but I've never thought in my life that I'd be making a six-figure income as an ex-convict,
Yeah.
as a murderer,
Yeah. Yeah.
as a
And those are things that God does because you're faithful.
right.
You're faithful to Him and you continue. And those are things that, I remember sharing that when I got out, they were looking to hire at McDonald's at night.
We passed by and he said, I'm going to go apply. They're paying $18 an hour. I'm going to go
Bro,
apply
I
there. And I was
would've
like,
did it.
no, you're
I
not.
would better than $8. I would have
Yeah.
jumped
What
on
are you
it, bro.
doing? He did.
Yeah, she like, you're going to
Be
go
flipping
apply.
burgers.
Before I left the prison, I was in the oil field, had 50 trucks and shops and everything. You're going to go work at McDonald's? I guess she was worried that they'd put me in the window and somebody
Oh,
would
well,
somebody would go
okay.
through the drive-through, right?
Uh,
And I would take their order, and they're like,
We're
Sonny, what are
still-
you doing
We're still
here?
pastoring at the church, and this is like literally right down the street from the
Yeah.
church. I'm like,
She was,
Really? You're gonna
she's
go-
like, really? You're going to go apply?
you can't do
babe,
that.
and I told her, I was straight up, I said, look, a man has to do what a man has to do.
Yes.
And if it meant to go work at McDonald's and support my family, I was going to do it. So I go there, fill out the application. The guy was like, yeah, we really need your help. And he was gun-ho, the manager. So he calls me back and says, hey, Mr. Peralta, I'm not going to be able to hire you. What? But you
And he
said
was
you,
like,
you
off
said
the
any,
record.
you said any warm-blooded person could get hired. You got a background. You're a felon. They didn't hire me. I would have worked there. I would have put like you said, you put your pride to the side and you had to do what you had to do. You had to go sell tacos. You sold tacos to take care of your family, right? And that's the way I was. I was like, hey, I don't care. At this time, I want to, and I've seen God where He's opened doors and, man, what do you do when He starts opening doors? When it's a God thing, He just opens another door after another door, and He's showing you, Pete, that, hey, I got you. I got you, Belinda. That's what God's telling you. I got you. I got you. You just keep going forward, stay in my words. I got you. I got you. I got you. And you know what? There's nothing better than coming out of prison, right? Coming out of prison and knowing that God got you. That no matter what you've been through, your family, the enemies try to break you and just separate you. We know that the enemy comes to kill, steal, and destroy. Once he steals that peace and that joy, you don't have a life. You can have everything, but if you don't have that peace and that joy, and it's nothing better than coming out of prison and knowing that, man, God's there. His grace.
He was always there. He was always.
Give your wife the mic.
He has always been there. It's just that our choices we made, and even through our trials, I look back and He was always there. He carried us through all of it. Through all of it. The thing was that we had to go into obedience and submission, And the Lord has opened doors that no man can shut. He has been so good to
He
us.
opens them, no one can shut.
No one can shut them. And He's been good to us. So good to us. So good
When
to
I
us.
first met y'all and I heard y'all's testimony, I was like, wow. I mean, when you go to prison, being that you were separated, you go to prison, sometimes your wife ain't going to wait for you. I remember going to prison, I was looking at 57 years. 57 years. They had all these cases. And then the attorney brought it down to 10. I told my wife, hey, don't wait for me. Move on. 10 years, I won't be the same person. I was already I'd be 70 years old when I came out. I was like, hey, just move on. But when God has a purpose and He has a plan, man, yeah. I don't know about you, Pete, but I always tell people, prison was the best thing for me. It really was.
I really feel like God was molding me then.
Go ahead.
I feel like He was molding me then.
He was getting you to where you needed to be.
Yeah, exactly.
Make you that man that you should be, that man that God called you to be, that the leader, the father, of the house, the king of your house.
And one thing, it was like, what is my calling, God? Or what's my calling, right? And then I had made a promise to my wife, and I was like, I'm never going back. I'm never going back to prison. And then I had a dream one night, and in my dream, I had a dream that I was in prison, but with civilian clothes.
Ah,
So I was like, what are you telling me,
you're going
God?
back to preach in
What
prison.
do you want me to go
You're
back?
going back to preach in prison.
Yeah,
Okay,
so
okay.
you want me to go back, and that's what my calling is. That's my calling.
Mm-hmm.
I love going into prison, but also what you starting is what happens to them. And my pastor brought it up. He goes, "Yeah, it's cool that y'all go in there and y'all been going for years, but what happens to the guys afterwards?
Yep.
And then I'm like, man, I'm excited with what y'all gonna do. We pumped and we love it, man. It's like, oh man, this is what we wanted.
This is
man.
what we're called. I
Yeah.
think it's our Bible study is a lot of, and it's not just for people that have been in prison and been incarcerated and been through drugs and everything. It's for everybody, our Bible studies. But the core group of our people are ex-felons, ex-drug dealers. We're a bunch of exes. It's funny, but, it's like we feel at home.
Yeah.
We love each other,
Yeah.
we hug each other, and, it's just, it's crazy like a family, right?
Yeah.
But it's what we've, I think God used what we've been through to help other people. It's like,
Yeah.
coming out,
Well, there's an understanding there, because I think that's the biggest thing is that, family wants to help, but they just don't understand.
Yeah.
Especially like when he was gone, I know that, from my family at least, they wanted to help. They just didn't know how. They didn't have an understanding of it. Whereas maybe it's different with someone that, their father, he's shared about 3 generations being in prison together last week. And so it's different when that's the reality for their family. But like, I know, Belen, you shared with you, same thing with me. They were like, they didn't know how to handle it. They didn't know. They couldn't give us advice because they were like, I've never been there. I don't even know what to tell you.
I mean, the only advice is move on.
Well, yeah.
You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
think that's the only advice I can say. Just move on.
Yeah.
It's
Do what
like,
you got to do.
it's like when you're in prison, you're really dead. You're really dead because there's nothing you can do. You're just there and you're just taking up space and life goes on. And God forbid that you lose a loved one. I lost my dad in prison, but I couldn't imagine losing my son or my daughter in prison, or you losing one of your girls. You know what I mean? That would be hard. That would be hard. And I've seen that. I've seen it personally, I've seen people hurt themselves, hang themselves, cut themselves. But it's, what we've been through, Pete, and Belen, with Sophia, what we've been through, now we're able to help other people. And we want to take this platform to be able to reach not only the inmate that's in there, not only the inmate that's in prison, but as they're coming out, right? And when they come out. And we want to be able to help the family members and advise them that, hey, they're not the same person. If they did 15 years, they're not that same person. That little boy, I always say that it's not a puppy coming home. You got a pet bull, you got a pet bull or a Doberman coming home. They're edgy and they need their space. And one thing that we in this podcast is that we want to be able to connect the women to the women, so that way they can have that support. Belen, if he would have been in prison, right? If he would have been when he was in prison, if you had a group with women, it would have made things a lot easier.
Yes.
That support group, right?
Absolutely.
And think about this: having a support group with women that have their husbands in prison, and you're not able to pay your bills, you're not able, they're going to help you.
Yeah, it becomes like a family.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And
a family that knows what you're going through because we're all
going through it, right?
You know?
You know, and this is what we want to do is women that come in with the other women, you ain't got a job. Well, let's help you let's get you a job. You need to, you
Absolutely.
got how many kids? You need daycare? We got a program that we can put your kids through a daycare program so that way you can go get a job.
We actually work hand in hand with our nonprofit. We work with a caseworker.
Yep.
So, well, that's for anybody out there.
Yeah.
We do have our nonprofit. It's Monday through Friday. It's from 9 to 3, and we help with food. We help with clothing. That was such an amazing thing that through the process, I was in the church, pastoring at the church, and had food bank and different things there. So throughout the time, I ran into a lot of women that they didn't have food. And we're not talking about extra. We're talking about bare necessities. Like they didn't have milk. They didn't have the things that they needed. And being able to be that resource was amazing. And we're still seeing that, right? We're able to help with food, with clothing. We do have a caseworker on staff that can help with extra things that they may need. Just all kinds of stuff.
Well, Belen, the change in Pete now, right?
Hallelujah. Thank you, Lord.
Totally different person, right?
Oh, yes.
Right, he's totally
Yes,
different, right?
Yes, a new creation in Christ.
There you
for
go.
Sure.
There you go.
It was well worth it. You know, all the trials we've been through, thank you, Lord, you know, for these things that we've been through because, you know, I believe that perseverance also builds us, you know.
Yep.
And
Builds character.
it builds character,
For sure.
absolutely.
For sure.
So he has. I mean, I have no regrets marrying this man. You know, none. He's definitely come a long way, and this is all
For the
the
glory.
Lord and
Yep.
His willing to, you know, and submission and
To want to change.
being obedience. Also, yeah, wanting to change. Yeah, you got to want to.
Belen.
So
there's a woman out there listening, right?
mhm.
She's out there listening to you right now. And she's at her end. She has children. Her husband's in prison. They're facing prison time. And she's hearing you. What advice do you give her? Because you've been there. What would you tell her? What would you tell her?
Oh gosh. What would I tell her as far as like where she's at? Like,
Mhm. Where you were at, when he was going to prison, you were scared, right?
yes.
You didn't know what was going to happen. You didn't know
I
what
was
was
so
going to happen to your girls, and if they were going to take them away. A lot of times, CPS they come in and they take the kids because you can't provide. What's the advice would you tell a woman? Hang in there, get a support group,
yes,
go to
definitely.
church. I mean,
Now, back when I went through what I went through, I didn't have the support, you know, and I think that this whole thing that you guys are trying to do here is definitely something that they should look for, is to find a good like group of women that are going through what I've been through and through what Sister Sophia, Pastor Sophia has been through, is get into a group of women that can help you and support you and speak life into you and encourage you, you know, in anything. You're not alone. Just reach out to
that's important. They're not
Sophia
alone.
here and Sunny here, and you know, we're here to help you. But most importantly is, you know, get into a Bible group.
There you go. There you go.
Get into a Bible group and know that you're not alone. The Lord is there with you. He's there with you, trust me.
Go ahead.
There was many times that I felt so lonely. And I remember laying on my sofa and I would close my eyes. And I would be, Lord, Heavenly Father, put your arms around me because I feel lonely and I need you to be here with me. And I knew he was there. And when I did that, oh my God, I would sleep so peacefully. I would sleep so peacefully. So know that you're not alone. You're not alone. Seek him. And he's there with you. He's here with us. So,
Thank you, Belinda.
yes, so find a good support system and get into a Bible class also. That helped me a lot, tremendously.
Stay connected, right?
Stay connected. You got to stay connected.
Good.
Yeah. I have a scripture here that I wanted to read real quick.
Sure.
That
That was something that you would read when he was away here.
this one, the Holy Spirit brought this to me today.
Okay.
And it says, because of the things we've been through, it says, the thief, this is from John 10:29, but I'm going to read 10, okay? This is, the thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. But I came that they may have life and have it abundantly.
Come on, somebody.
So this is something I wanted to read to everybody because I felt this today because the enemy comes here to steal and to destroy and to kill, right? But the Lord doesn't want that for us, He wants an abundant life for us, So I just wanted to share that with you guys, and definitely, if anybody's feeling like they need some support, reach out
Reach out to us.
to us, or reach out to Sunny and Sophia here.
I like
And
that.
God bless everybody.
I like that verse because the devil comes in and he just, if he can separate the husband and the wife, that's it. He did his job.
And he definitely tried to do that to
Yeah.
Pete and I.
And not only that, then your daughters are going to live through that too.
It becomes like
It's
a
a cycle.
generation curse.
Yeah, it's a cycle that happens. So Pete, what would you advise? What would somebody coming out of prison, or let's just say they came out of prison? Guys, he's listening to the podcast, and what would you tell him right now that he's out of prison?
Submit yourself. Let the pride to the side. Ask God for direction. That's what I did. And then change your mindset. Support group. God, number one, of course. Support group, number two. Your mind, because the mind is powerful. The devil come and he'll start telling you you're not worth so and so. You'll never get a good job. Well, not boasting, but I'm a walking testimony of what God can do for you that He did for me.
That's it.
And yeah, you've got to put Him first in your life. That's there's no other way. No other way. Now, I thank God because, I worried about my children, and because what I put them through, and they're all serving God now. My grandkids are serving God. They're all at church. So thank you, Jesus. But yeah, it's going back to the mind. The mind is real powerful, so you got to change how you think. That's what I started doing. I started, okay, and I tell my wife, I call it spiritually silver lining. So,
Nice.
when you feel
I like
say like y'all are feeling lonely, whatever, come back with a scripture, to silver line, and that's what I do, and I change my my thoughts because the devil will manipulate your mind and stuff. So I started changing how I think,
How you think.
more positive than negative. Yes, I've been in prison. But guess what? Look where I'm at now.
And it's not what people
And I
say
thank
about
you.
you, it's what God says about you. That's the most
Exactly, bro.
important.
Don't worry about
People are going to talk.
your
Pete-
family's gonna talk. They're the number one, man. Your
Okay.
family,
We weren't going to go there.
we were going to go there. Oh, Jesus.
but you gotta.
We're not calling anybody out.
We're not.
Okay.
But you're right. You're right. It starts with
They're
the
the
family.
worst
Well, you know
ones.
what it is that what it is that the family is dealing with the old Pete,
Right.
the old Sonny,
Yes, sir.
and they're still trying to figure us out our old ways and bring up our old ways.
Oh, yeah.
So
Or
that's
who they think that you should
Yeah.
be. You know, they should have learned that they've been there for 3 years. Fine,
Yeah.
they should have learned something by now.
Yeah, so it's nothing personal. It's just that they're trying to judge us by what we
Right,
used to
from
be,
our
you
past,
know.
right. I
And
agree.
but
Let's getting to know each other again.
yeah, and
That's a big
yeah,
thing.
that's a big thing. Pete, we're blessed with good women, good wives.
Yeah. And our love has been like the best
We're
ever.
we're the
The
same way.
best ever. You know,
We're
right,
the
baby?
same way.
Kind of hesitated there.
What was that?
You know, and I say this because your wife was going to church, and then you started going to church. Same thing here. My wife never forced me to go. She started going to church,
Right.
and I think what really drew me to going back to the Lord was her faithfulness.
Right.
And she would never tell me anything. She never, hey, well, let's go to church. I need you to. Never told me nothing. Just let me do what I wanted. I guess, and I think it was her kindness, and really what won me over. You know, it wasn't. She wasn't forcing me to go to church. I'm going to leave you, and you better do this. If not, it was just, hey, if you want to go to church, I'm at church. I'll be there. So that's what won me over.
She's my wife's. the
She
same
won
way.
me
Yeah.
over with kindness, the craziest thing, you know. But, yep. All right, so I want to thank our guest here, Pete, and his beautiful wife, Belen
having us here.
Rodriguez. Thank you. Again, we do this every Monday. Every Monday we do a podcast, and we're here to support you. We're here for support. If, like I said, if you have a loved one that's coming out of prison, please reach out to us. Please reach out to us. Tell them, hey, look, my husband, my brother, my cousin, whoever it is coming out of prison. I need support. I need to get connected. So when my family comes out of prison, it makes that transition. If you can get connected now before him or her gets out of prison, you'll have a support group. So when he does come out, he'll be able to make that transition. It'll be a lot easier to make that transition. And we have these Bible studies that we do every Thursday, and our podcast every Monday.
We have a lot.
We have a
So
lot.
the best thing to do is if you're on here and you're not connected with us, you're not friends with us, friend request us. I'm Sophia Perales. This is Sunny Perales. And also we have a page. It is Our House Ministry. So if you search for Our House Ministries, we always post every gathering, every Bible study, everything that we're doing is on there to keep you updated so that you don't miss anything.
That's it. And we also do the Women's with Victoria.
Yes, we have a prison wife group. And if we're connected on Facebook, I can direct you that way. It's a private group.
Don't hesitate to get a hold of us, okay?
Yeah.
So, Gilbert, how did we go over our time?
Yay!
All right, we're good. Love you guys. Let us know if there's anything that we can do for y'all. Let us know, okay?
Amen.
God bless y'all. Good night. That was good. But, yeah, man.